Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're back in the Ferrari 296 GT3 car for another guide, this time at Bathurst. This track is amazing to drive, however it can be frustrating when you begin to push due to all the walls. This lap was done with the fixed setup, a track temp of 42 degrees, air temp of 18 and 100% track usage. For those who are new here, I usually show you the fast lap first, then do the guided lap, where I'll go through all my braking markers and references to help you go faster. If you're only interested in the guided lap, I'll leave timestamps in the description so you can skip to the specific part you want. Let's get into it. But before we start, I'd really appreciate it if you all subscribe to my channel and like the video. Thank you. For turn 1 I brake around halfway between the 150 metre boards. My peak brake pressure is 70% and I turn in at the yellow part of the barrier on the right. I use second gear, and to be quick through here you really have to prioritise the exit. I do this by trail braking to the apex and avoid the inside curb as it can unsettle the car. I gradually come back on throttle just after the apex to avoid the TC engaging too much, and you can use all of the curb up to the astroturf from the exit without getting a 1x. Here I brake at the tarmac on the left and use third gear. There is a lot more grip on the inside than you'd think as the corner is banked slightly towards the inside. I turn in just after the white line and my peak brake pressure is around 80%. I trail brake to the apex and get back on throttle just before the end of the inside curb. The car tends to understeer a lot on the exit, especially on cold tyres, so you have to delay your throttle application slightly to account for this. This is one of the two main overtaking places on the circuit. Due to the banking it is possible to hold it around the outside. However, this does rely on the car on the inside leaving space on the exit. The car does also sometimes bottom out on the exit curb, so you might not want to go as wide as I do here. For the hairpin I brake just after the crest on the left hander before it. As soon as I'm past the kink I brake in a straight line and use first gear. I was struggling to rotate the car here, which is why I go to first, however I have seen people using second and it seems to give a much better rotation on the exit. I turn in for a late apex and you want to be as close to the inside wall as possible. On the exit I gradually come back on throttle as the rear does step out if you're too aggressive. In the temps I was in, this right hander was flat, however in less favourable conditions you do have to lift to avoid hitting the wall on the exit. I go right up to the wall on the left to open up the corner, and aim to apex the end of the inside curb. After this I open the steering to scrub less speed, and you can use all of the exit curb on the left without too much issues. For this one, it's a similar story to the previous corner. In the temps I was in, it was flat, however, in slightly hotter temps, it is a slight lift. I get as close to the wall on the right as possible and turn in just before the grass on the right. I avoid the inside curbs that pushes you wide into the wall, and again you can use all of the exit curb without any issues. Here I shift to 5th and turn in at the start of the curb on the right. It's very important that you start turning in before the crest as you lose grip going over it. I lift to around 50% as I turn in to get some rotation, and I get back to full throttle just after the end of the inside curb. It's very important to not use too much of the exit curb as it pulls you in and you bottom out. It's very easy to lose the car here if you use too much of it. The next sequence is by far the most difficult on the circuit for me. I brake at the banner here and turn in as you go over the crest. I get as close to the wall on the right as possible, and you can't brake too hard here as the very slight banking can spin you to the right. Then downshift to 3rd and straight line the curb on the left as much as possible. I turn in for the next right at the end of it and keep the car tight to the right wall to prepare for the dipper. I turn in just before the end of the curb on the right and trail brake to get the car turned in. I use 1st gear. Again, 2nd is definitely usable here, but I was struggling to get the car rotated. You have to turn in a lot earlier than you'd think as you lose grip as the track sweeps down. If you aim to just clip the wall at the apex, it gives you the perfect line through here. I get back on throttle just after the apex and you can use all of the curb and grass on the exit here. Here I trail brake through the right-hander to prepare the entry to the hairpin. I brake in a straight line at the start of the blue barrier on the right to keep the car stable. My peak brake pressure is around 70%. I take a late apex to get a good run onto the back straight, and I get back on throttle just after the raised part of the barrier ends. I get as close to the wall on the inside as possible, and trail brake to get the car turned in. For the exit you want to get as close to the wall on the right as possible without hitting it. For the fast right, it's easily flat in modern GT3. Just make sure you avoid the curb on the inside and that the car is over to the right on the exit to prepare for the chicane. For the chicane I brake at the 150 board and use 3rd gear as it's more stable than 2nd. My peak brake pressure is around 80% and I turn in just after the 50 board. I avoid the inside curbs, it unsettles the car, and I trail brake to the apex. I take a late apex, getting back on throttle just after the curb to carry speed onto the exit. You can use all of the curb on the right and left on the exit, without it unsettling the car. For the final corner I brake just after the 100 board and use 2nd gear. My peak brake pressure is 75% and I trail brake to the apex. I avoid the inside curbs, it can hinder your exit, and I get back on throttle gradually just after it to avoid the TC engaging. For the exit you can use all of the red and white curb, but don't use any of the grass as it will give you a 1x. So that was a lap of Bathurst. I did some testing in some other cars and the BMW seemed very strong if you don't enjoy driving the Ferrari. I prefer the Ferrari as it gives better rotation on entry, however the BMW is much easier to drive and more stable. If you found this guide helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. You can also now become a channel member if you so wish. Good luck for those of you who are participating in the Bathurst 12 hour this weekend, and I'll leave you the 3rd person lap to the end of the video. This will be a great chance to see the lines I take through the top of the mountain and how close I get to each wall.